sun, and it can be rotated 103 like 3 and it can be rotated 360 degree. So you can change the location of the sun if you are using these types of HDRI to lit up your scene, and then you can change and you can rotate it so that the direction of the sun will be facing in your scene from the side with the biggest window or biggest opening or the biggest door, so that the maximum amount of light can enter into your scene. So at that time this source Q map angle can be used to change the direction of the light coming from the HDRI, and you can just rotate the sun and its location in the HDRI here. This will be just like going here and like this, and it will coming again from here, and then you can rotate it. So I hope you understood this source Q map angle, and now you can increase the resolution of this texture by going here and making it 4096. So now the texture resolution will be increased. The quality of the texture which we are using on this skylight as a HDRI, the resolution or the quality of the texture will be increased with this Q map resolution. Okay, so I hope you understand this. I hope you understood this also. And this one I have never used. You can just keep it default forever. Like there will be very less circumstance or very few circumstances where you need to increase or decrease it. So as of now, in 125 projects, I have never changed this value. So just let it be, ignore it. This is the intensity of your skylight, which is very handy. And this is the tint. So suppose that if you want, you can just give a bluish tint to your scene or your skylight to make it even realistic. Okay, this is also same like effect world on off. It will cast shadow, it will not cast shadow. So this is also, it is indirect lighting, so you can increase or decrease indirect lighting, which will be very less effective on a skylight, and rest is same. So this is also just visible and then non-visible and then actor hidden in game. So if I switch it on and if I click play, then when game will be on, this skylight will be actually off. It will have no effect. Okay, and rest everything is just like not at all used, so let's ignore them. These are the only major properties or things which you need to understand, because you will be using them only for 99% of the time. So now let's delete this skylight and add an HDRI. I will just bring it here, and this is the just way to give a backdrop of your scene. So suppose you are having an interior and you are inside the house and you want a good background or backdrop of your scene. So at that scenario, you will just have to use HDI backdrop, put it down, and then you can go here in this skylight, or maybe go here, HDI backdrop, and you can change the texture of this. Like if I want, I can change the texture here. So the texture is changed. So if I will be just on the ground, you will see this texture this will be the background of my scene. Okay, and if I just press Ctrl Z, then this is the background of your scene. So you can use any HDRI to give a backdrop of your scene, to get a backdrop of your scene, and you can also change the and you can also change the HDRI of that scene. Okay, so this is the way, and you can just select this one and it will give you some time like ways to like move or rotate or scale it. You can select this one and then you can just increase the intensity of this or decrease it, make its size bigger or smaller. And I don't know what this is, actor hidden game, and it will be like you will click play, it will be hidden. So the basic use of it is just like you have an interior and there is a window or door which you are able to see it from inside. Just drag and drop HDI backdrop and then change the HDI you want or you have, or let it be just let it like let or just use the HDI which you already are seeing here, and that's all. You can also change it. So it will just be very, it is very, with the help of this plugin, it's very easy to add a backdrop to your scene. Okay, so I'll also delete this one and this sun and sky now. So this is the best way to lit up your scene naturally, like the way in real world the light behaves. This is an amazing tool to get the same effect. And what this actually is this is a combination, like this is a kind of plugin that has been implemented in Unreal Engine late, like very recently, and it consists of a sunlight, like this is directional light, and a skylight and the sky atmosphere and a compass, so that you can change the direction of your sun in terms of months, latitude, longitude, time zone, and north direction, month, day of a year. Okay, and you can just change, also change the solar time. So this is a very handy tool, and it's extremely powerful whether you are doing a dynamic scene or dynamic way of lighting your scene, or whether you are using a static way of using scene. This tool is extremely happy, like this tool is extremely helpful in both scenario. It doesn't matter which type of lighting you are trying to achieve, whether it's dynamic or static. So now I will try to explain this tool as in depth as possible to help you out to get it, to know about it. And later on in the tutorial or in this tutorial series, I'll be explaining how to use all these lights and make a great scene with all the other settings that needs to be combined together to get effect. So only using these lights here is not going to do anything or help you anything. You need to understand and combine several things that are present in an engine to get the good result. So let's understand everything first, and then we'll try to use, or and then I will show you how you can use all those tools available that you already know about after this in this course to achieve the great result. So let's continue here. So if you go ahead and select it here, there is on this here sun and skies. If you go here in this latitude, you can change the latitude of the scene. So you can see here, you can change it. You can also put it 90 here, and you can also change the latitude like this one. So you can see it's like real time, you are able to change it or see it. Then you can change the longitude of your scene. You can see here. So you see sun is just going up from there and here. If I just make it default, then I can change. So you can change latitude or longitude from here. It's as simple as that. And you can also change the time zone. So depending on the city or the place where you are, you can change the time zone based on that. You can also change the north direction. So that direction of the light where it's coming from. So you can also change the light direction, like north direction or north offset. You can also change or set a specific day, month, or a date of that particular hour. So you can just use all these values to give the most accurate lighting or appropriate lighting scenario or the accurate lighting of your scene. So I would highly recommend you to use this tool to give the exact lighting, like exact lighting of your scene of any particular place on the earth. Okay, so this is that much handy. You can also change the solar time. So I don't know what this actually does is, but it just changes the location of the sun. So these are all the tools or the properties available here on the sun and sky. But this one is the compass. Okay, this compass where I have these options. This is the metal of that compass. So this is not very relevant. The relevant part is this skyline. So if you remember that I said that whenever you are doing a real time or dynamic lighting way, use sun and sky to lit up your scene, and in that sun and sky on skylight use real time capture if you are using a dynamic lighting process. But if you are using a static lighting process, switch this off, go to here, change this to a specified cube map, and then use that cube map to lit up your scene. Okay, so for static, this should be the setup. I will show you how to use this later on, but for a dynamic lighting scenario, always use this. It's phenomenal, it's amazing. Okay, and then you just need to increase or decrease the intensity of this skylight. So this will also change the tint of your skylight if you want, and this is also the same effect on, effect off of your lighting, like sunlight. So rest is the same as a skylight with like independent skylight, but when you are lighting up a scene using dynamic, use sun and sky along with, and on that sky should be real-time capture. And this is direction light properties, same as this direction light, and you can change the intensity or color or like anything you want, like same as. Yes, and one important thing here, like when you see here, this is the same. Yes, like when this is 0.5, the shadows are very sharp, but if you make it 2, you see the edge of the shadow, the far the shadow goes from the object, the shadow gets blurry, and this is the real world phenomenon. In real world also, when a shadow is being cast from an object, then the longer the shadow is, the edge of the most further part of the shadow will be blurred, and this is very helpful to get that effect, and it will make your scene very realistic. So you should always be aware of this setting and try to use this setting so that your scene will look realistic. But you also have to be aware that when you introduce this too much, like when you have lots of blur on your shadow, there will be noise on it. Okay, so you should also have to be aware of, so use it wisely so that it's not so much noisy and the shadows are looking better and as good as possible. So, and this is the just atmospheric, like a sky atmosphere. This should be just used. It doesn't do a lot in the scene, but it helps to get a good environment. You see here, like the sun is available and all those things. And also in the directional light, like when you scroll down in the atmosphere and cloud, or make sure atmospheric sunlight is on, and anyway when you will be using sun and sky, it will be automatically on. So main thing here to be noted is you have to click on sun and sky, and then you can just change the latitude, longitude, time zone, north, and all those things. You can go in skylight and you can have all these settings. You want to change the skylight color or intensity like that, or switch off the skylight or switch on the skylight, you can. And here you can go to direction light and you can change the intensity and also the source angle to get a blurry shadow in the scene. And you can also use the temperature if in case, like 5500. I generally use 5300 or 5500 to get a yellowish tint on your sunlight, and that will make your scene more realistic. So I always depend on temperature to get the lighting from a scene rather than depending on the light color. So I hope you understand all these lights parameters. Using just this light is not going to help you get good result, so you should be knowing, like aware of all these slides, and you just go on learning this whole course. And when the whole course will be covered or like finished, like when I will finish all the interface, then you will be aware of everything that is present in Unreal Engine that is helpful in doing architectural visualization. And then later on we'll take some scenes and try to use all the knowledge which we have been like gaining till now, and try to use how efficiently, like if it, and try to use those knowledge and tools and techniques and tips and tricks and shortcuts to get something meaningful. Okay, so let's focus on just learning everything. So next I will be covering, so now we'll go in shapes. And if you remember, in shapes we have already I have already covered all this cube, sphere, cylinder, cone, and plane. You get all these basic primitive objects which you can just drag and drop and create. So let's continue further. So this is cinematic. Okay, so in cinematic there are camera rig crane, camera rig rail, and cine camera actor. So let's ignore this and this because I have never used them till date in any of my application, like in any of my projects. So I don't think they are very helpful, but this cine camera actor is very important. So we just drag and drop in the viewport in a camera actor. So as you can see, we have got this camera here in the viewport. So now I will go ahead and then I will rotate this camera and try to see all its parameter available in the detail panel. And cameras in Unreal Engine are amazing, like exceptional. They're very good, and you can get a lot of things done with the help of these cameras inside Unreal Engine. And now let's try to understand the parameters here. So these are just basic, like you can move, rotate, or scale, or you can just directly go ahead and use the keyboard shortcut WER, and you can rotate or like move anything, like move the camera in the viewport. And here you can keep the mobility static, stationary, movable, but I will recommend always keep your camera in movable in your scene. And now here look tracking. So I haven't used them much or like never use them, so let's ignore it. Film back. So film back, this is the camera aperture. So you can change the camera aperture whatever you want. You can make like 35 mm full aperture or anything, but as of me I always use the default. So just click on this button and sort. But yes, you can change the camera aperture here. Okay, this is lens setting, so you can also change the lens, like how much of lens you want to use, like 12 to zoom in, like zoomed view of any object or a scene, a zoomed out version, or maybe 105 for zoomed in. So it is helpful in like zooming or zooming out, zooming in or zooming out. This is lens setting, so just reset it again. Let's make it 30. And then this is focus setting. So suppose we want this sphere to be, this is very helpful, so I'm going to explain this. Suppose we want this sphere to be visible very clearly, and then behind this sphere there should be a depth of field in your scene. So you can just click here and then go ahead and select that sphere in the scene, or just go here and then select it on this here, like in the scene also. So that way your focus will be near about this sphere, and since all these objects are near about this sphere, so they will not be blurred too much. But as far as the viewport goes, everything will be blurred, and before that also will be blurred. But the focus for blurred is set here on this sphere. So it's as simple as that, and it's very easy. So you just need to go ahead and then click on this sphere, and then the focus will be based on that. You can also increase or decrease the focus, and this also depends on the like what of your camera you are using. So that also depends on that. So you can decrease it or increase it. You can see the difference. So if you make it like this, it will be blurred, or depth of field will be there more. If you just increase this, so you can control it manually or with the help of, like if you want to choose any specific object. So this depth of field is highly dependent on the lens setting. So you should always be aware like what lens value you are using for getting greater depth of field. So now this is like